This is your government video for legislative branch's checks on the judiciary branch. So Congress heads the legislative branch, and the federal judiciary includes all of the federal courts, federal appeals court, and the Supreme Court. So Congress, particularly the Senate, has the right to confirm all appointments for federal judges and justices made by the president. You need a majority vote of senators in order to confirm any appointments to the federal judiciary. Congress also gets to control the number of judges. They can add or remove the number of judges in any level of courts. Congress gets to determine the number of judges because the Constitution, at the time they were writing it, they did not have enough time in the Constitutional Convention to set up a specific number or size of the court system. They knew that they were going to add more and more population and more states to the Union, so they didn't want to put in a specific number. And that means that they left it up to Congress as one of Congress's job duties. So if we have a lot of cases, they can increase the number of judges needed, and all of these judges serve for life terms. So if Congress decides to lower the number of judges, the judges don't get fired. They just wait for judges to die or retire, and then they don't replace those judges. Congress also gets to determine the jurisdiction of courts. So in addition to the regular federal trial courts, which are called district courts, you can of course appeal your case through the appeals courts, and you can go up to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court system in the United States. Congress also gets to decide which cases go to which courts, and they can also create specialty courts. So they can create family courts or drug courts or immigration courts. So in certain times, if we have a lot of drug cases, Congress can make specific drug courts in which prosecutors and judges who work for the federal government can go into those court cases, and all they do are drug cases. That frees up the regular courts to do all other types of cases. And then they can, of course, increase or decrease the amount of specific judges in those courts that are needed. Congress also takes the lead on amendments to the Constitution. Now, typically, judges in courts have to take what is in the Constitution and apply it to a case, or what's in federal law. So if you don't think that the Supreme Court is going to argue in your favor, then if you pass an amendment, the Supreme Court now has to apply the amendment, which is part of the Constitution, to your specific case. Passing amendments are outlined in the Constitution, and they actually created two different ways to amend the Constitution, but only one of them has only been used in U.S. history. The amendment process is a two-part process. The first part, the amendment has to be proposed, and it can be proposed in either the House or the Senate, but ultimately it has to be passed by a 2/3 vote of both chambers, the House members and the Senate. Again, that's a supermajority, and that's a pretty high bar. It typically means you have to have bipartisan support. Once it's passed by both chambers of Congress, it does not go to the president. The president doesn't have any signature or say-so on a constitutional amendment. After that, it has to go to the states, and 3/4 of the states would have to put it on the ballot and approve it through their voters for it to become a ratified amendment to the Constitution. Congress also has a say-so in the impeachment of all officers of the judiciary. So judges and Supreme Court justices can also be impeached just like a president. Remember, you can only issue an impeachment for treason, bribery, or high crimes and misdemeanors. And it's the same process. You would need a majority of House members to agree to the impeachment, which is an indictment of charges. And then the Senate would determine if that person is removed from their office or not. And that would take a 2/3 vote of senators.